spent answering the questions that you, your coworkers, and other folks have on the dual enrollment initiative and on PrepareRI. And then also we have put together handouts in the handout feature. So in the GoToMeeting app, there are 5 handouts that are uploaded, one of which is the PowerPoint presentation that we're going through today, and the other 4 we will go through during our time together this afternoon. So I'm going to turn it over to Paula Varney, and Paula is going to walk us through just a general recap of what took place earlier this spring related in the summer related to dual enrollment in the PrepareRI initiative. Paula?
Thanks, Steve. Hi, everyone. Okay, let's try this again. Sorry about that. Okay, so if you're not familiar with the Dual Enrollment Equal Opportunity Act, this was passed in 2013 by the General Assembly to provide students equitable access to dual enrollment coursework. And so it specifically called out the following 2 key actions. One was that the Board of Education would develop a statewide dual enrollment regulation, and that also every LEA would adopt their own local policy. And we'll address questions about that in a minute. And it also asks for an annual report on dual enrollment every year to the General Assembly. So in response to the Act, the board adopted the statewide dual enrollment regulations at the end of April of this year. And those regulations do a few things. They create a clear process for high schools to expand concurrent enrollment courses, establish eligibility criteria to allow teachers, students, and families to understand if students are prepared to take college-level coursework. They remove barriers to participation for low-income students. They ensure that students receive both high school and college credit. And they provide all qualified students access to dual enrollment at CCRI, RIC, and URI to their entire course catalog if the students have met the prerequisites. Okay, so you probably heard me throw out a couple of terms that you may or may not be familiar with. The regulations specify concurrent enrollment being a type of dual enrollment where a student is taking a college-level course and receiving both high school and college credit, but that student is doing it on the high school campus in a course that is approved to be taught by the high school instructor, and that instructor has been approved by the respective college or university. Dual enrollment is a high school student enrolling as a non-matriculating student in a college course, again receiving both high school and college credit, but usually that student is going to the campus and taking the course that is being taught by the college instructor. And so this would also apply to any virtual courses that the college or university is offering and that are being run by a college instructor. So just to recap the course costs, so it looks like someone let me know that we are having problems with the handout feature, which we're trying to resolve, but just to keep in time, we're going to go through the content and make sure that you all have the slides and all of the handouts. And so if we can't figure that out now, we'll email that to you at the end of this webinar. So about the Dual Enrollment Fund, Governor Raimondo passed the Dual Enrollment Fund, and it provides all qualified students funding for their dual and concurrent enrollment coursework with URI, RIC, and CCRI. And you know, this is the first year that that funding was passed, and we're hoping and expecting that it will continue into the future. And so what this means is that the Office of the Post-Secondary Commissioner, formerly the Office of Higher Ed, actually reimburses URI, RIC, and CCRI for the tuition and fees for students participating in both dual and concurrent enrollment. So what this means is districts or LEAs receiving a bill from the institutions will no longer happen, and that transaction will take place between OPC and each of the public institutions. So what you need to do is to make sure that students' course selections will count towards their high school credit, communicate the benefits and risks of participation with your students and families, and we prepared a couple of informational flyers that are posted on the website that we'll review at the end of this webinar that kind of talk through the benefits and the risks. So you might be familiar with the benefits, like increased likelihood of actually enrolling in post-secondary education and persisting to completion. But also, these are college classes, and so if a student enrolls and then fails the class, they have a failure on a college transcript, and that might impact their financial aid opportunities in the future. And work with your students to meet any specific course eligibility requirements and any scheduling challenges that might have come up.
So we're going to walk through some common questions that we've received over the last couple of weeks and months related to dual enrollment and the Prepare RI initiative. So just to start and to walk folks through is as a part of the Dual Enrollment Equal Opportunity Act of 2013, school districts were required to adopt a dual enrollment policy no later than June 30th, 2015. RIDE has been working with folks and is understanding if there are schools and districts that have needed a little additional extra time to be able to meet this requirement, being that the dual enrollment regulations were passed by RIDE and the Board of Higher Education on April 27th. So just if you're having issues, if your board hasn't adopted it yet, just please let us know. We're more than happy to work with you and help support you in any way possible. The goal of the dual enrollment policy is really to help develop and have a place where students can turn to for clear and consistent information on how the district creates dual and concurrent enrollment opportunities. So the first requirement is to provide information about available concurrent enrollment courses. A lot of our high schools in the state offer concurrent enrollment, but there hasn't been a clear and consistent way for parents or students to be able to receive information about which courses at their local high school help them earn college level credit. So in the board policy, it's asked that there be a clear, consistent process for identifying the concurrent enrollment courses which are made available to your district. Second is to describe the dual and concurrent enrollment grading policy. Some of our districts here in Rhode Island give additional weight and credit to students who take dual and concurrent enrollment opportunities. And so if your district does choose to weight, which you're not required, but many folks do, is that we're asking you to please put that in your board adopted policy so there's a clear, consistent place for students, parents, and educators to be able to turn to be able to figure out if you are going to give additional GPA credit for students who do earn dual and concurrent enrollment credit. Next is describe how the high school will reward high school level credit for college level coursework. So for our students, and as a part of the regulations, is that taking dual and concurrent enrollment coursework means that they're also enrolled in high school, earning high school credit. And so what we want to do is have a clear, consistent process that's established that states how students are going to be able to be awarded that credit. Again, RIDE doesn't want to prescribe how that should be done, but we want there to be a clear process about how your local district and your different teams are going to award that credit. Next is to designate a staff coordinator to oversee dual and concurrent enrollment programming. Again, we'll get into this a little bit deeper in a slide that will follow up shortly. But one of the things that we found very helpful from the higher ed side of things is to have one person who serves as a point of contact for each institution. And what we're asking our schools and our districts to do is to set a single point of contact at the high school or at the district to be able to help support dual and concurrent enrollment programming, so there's one person to turn to. Next is to detail all the program costs, including but not limited to how the district will provide textbooks to students, which is required through the policy, and we'll get to that a little bit later in a minute. And also if the district will provide transportation. It's not required, but some folks have chosen to give students bus passes or provide transportation to college campuses for kids who are taking dual enrollment opportunities. Next is to detail the local eligibility criteria for students who enroll in dual and concurrent enrollment programming. We wanted the goal is to make sure that there's clear, transparent information about how the school and the district will identify students for dual enrollment opportunities. Next is a detailed process for providing students with academic supports and accommodations. Some of our schools give extra counseling and academic remediation and support to students who are taking dual and concurrent enrollment opportunities. And so the purpose of the policy is to really detail how you're going to help your students be successful in accessing dual and concurrent enrollment coursework. And then finally, it's a detail how students will be recruited into dual and concurrent enrollment programming. So one of the things, again, and the goal of transparency is to have a clear process of how you're going to reach out to students in the future and be able to identify them and get them to take and enroll in dual and concurrent enrollment programming. We're asking folks that as your school board and your school committee adopt your dual enrollment policies, is that you please submit those to Sharon Lee. Sharon's email address is sharon.lee@ride.ri.gov. And what we're aiming to do is to help inventory those in case we do get any questions from folks about the adoption of those policies. And again, we just want to be very clear, if folks have not adopted them yet, we want to be a resource and a tool to help you get back on track and be able to get those policies adopted shortly. So next is staff-designated contact. One of the things that's been phenomenally helpful with dual and concurrent enrollment programming has been the folks at URI, RIC, and CCRI have established a staff coordinator to oversee the selection and delivery of dual and concurrent programming. It's been very helpful and been a great tool for us over the summer. You can get the contact information for the URI, RIC, and CCRI point of contacts at RIDE's dual enrollment webpage, which is ride.ri.gov/dual enrollment. We are recommending strongly that districts and high schools designate someone to be the school or district point of contact for dual enrollment. It's been very helpful in the summer where there have been folks who have served as a point of contact so that there's clear, consistent communication, and where we reduce the number of bureaucratic steps for getting a parent, an educator, or someone from the colleges in touch with someone at the school level. RIDE will only use this information to connect higher ed staff or parents or students to the right person in your school or at your district. If your district would like to submit someone and help us in making sure we're providing the highest level of customer service and support, please email Sharon Lee at sharon.lee@ride.ri.gov. Please email the email, the name of the individual, and the phone number for the person you would like to serve as your point of contact. Again, we will only use that in the event that we have received outreach, and we're trying to help support either folks from the higher ed side or students and families. Next is another issue which has come up recently related to textbooks. So schools and districts are required to cover the cost of textbooks for students participating in dual and concurrent enrollment courses. Much like students who take CTE coursework or participating in AP coursework, the cost of textbooks, since they are a part of the student's core academic coursework for receiving a high school diploma, should be picked up by the school and district. The great news is that we've had a lot of folks already kind of have a couple of forays into this work, and where we've actually had some great models to be able to work towards to help simplify this process. Some of the examples and solutions that we've had so far is that folks have turned to purchasing from online stores like Amazon to be able to purchase the books, which has helped for a simplified and very streamlined process. Some schools have set up processes that reimburse students who pay up front for their books. CCRI has actually been a great partner and has developed a mechanism to bill districts directly, especially for students who aren't able to pay directly up front at the school's bookstore. And so that is located in handout 1 and 2, where if you have a student who can't pay, CCRI will invoice you directly for the cost of the textbooks for the student. Next is ensuring, and this is a very important piece, ensuring that it's a clearly communicated process and documented expectations for the student to return the books. So if you purchase the books for the student, they are not the student's property at the end of the semester. They do belong to the high school. So the high school could sell them back to the college bookstore, or they could choose to inventory them and keep them on file at their high school library. We've included example policy language from one of our high schools, which has a lot of dual enrollment programming, but essentially they've clearly stated that for students that the textbooks are property of the school and the district, and that they're expected to be returned in the same condition as they were received, and that if the student fails to return the textbooks, it may prevent them from being able to participate in additional dual and concurrent enrollment opportunities. We had a question last week in one of our webinars where it asked for students who don't return their regular textbooks, they may not be able to participate in graduation activities. Again, RIDE is not advocating one policy one way or the other, but however you choose to deal with that at the local level, you are allowed to do that. So if you typically would withhold or prevent a student from participating in graduation activities because of unreturned textbooks, that is absolutely something that has been available. Again, we're looking to help support you in any way possible on this. So if you have any questions, feel free to give me a buzz at any time. My direct line is 222-8485. Again, looking forward to helping and supporting you in your district with this in any way. So I'm going to turn it back to Paula, who's going to walk us through some of the new data and reporting elements. It's really important to note that we have some new changes to TCS that will allow us to dive deeper in terms of our dual and concurrent enrollment reporting. So I'm going to turn it back over to Paula.
So this is the last area that we've been getting a lot of questions since the new school year has begun. And so for data and reporting, to ensure this year especially that the correct funding and reimbursement is happening, both RIDE and the Office of the Post-Secondary Commissioner have set up data collections for dual and concurrent enrollment. And so the data collection for LEAs will support the ability for tuition and costs to be reimbursed directly from the Office of the Post-Secondary Commissioner without districts receiving a bill. And the way that that will happen is districts will report to RIDE through the TCS collection which students are enrolled in dual and concurrent enrollment courses. It also supports requirements to report to the General Assembly beginning in the fall of next year, and actually some, I guess, interim reporting that might be requested before that time. And also in the future, the proposed changes to the school accountability classifications may include additional points for schools that are having more students participate and successfully complete advanced coursework like AP, dual and concurrent enrollment, and other courses like that. So this collection is being done up front to support all of those things, and when we review it, you'll see that we're not only asking for URI, RIC, and CCRI dual and concurrent enrollment information, we're also asking you to report if you have other students participating in dual enrollment with private institutions, and you're giving high school credit for those courses as well. Report that, because that is dual enrollment. It's just with a different institution. And related is the under 18 grade release. So along with the exchange of data, built into that is the exchange of grades. So for students under 18, a grade release form must be signed by the student and the parent, and this enables the college or university to send the course grade information back to the high school. So this would really only apply for dual enrollment. CCRI has this built into their process, and you might be familiar with it if you have students who are participating in Running Start or high school enrichment. But there's not anything that you need to do specifically on this, but keep this in mind when you're assisting students who are registering for dual enrollment courses, and just making sure that you can receive the grade information you need from the college or university. So I know that we're having a couple of difficulties, but I can still show you the other handouts there. So the first is handout number 3. If you click it, you should be able to download it. And this just walks through roles and responsibilities in terms of data reporting. And you can download that and review it at your own pace. And then the second is actually the data specification. So I know most people on this webinar probably aren't the audience for this document, but we did want to point it out that the data specifications for the dual enrollment collection went out through the governance process, sorry about that, this spring along with the regulations. They're actually on the information and accountability page of the RIDE website. And you can see them here that they were published in the spring. So every SIS vendor received a copy of this, And the data team also reviewed it with data managers on their weekly webinars last week. So if you have any questions about this document, again, I know it's not available in the handout section, but we will email these PDFs out to everyone on this webinar today, and you can access this on the RIDE website. Okay, so we'll just go through a couple of next steps before we get into Q&A for everybody. So definitely we encourage you to review the information and resources on the dual enrollment webpage. And if you have students who are enrolled in dual enrollment this semester, it looks like based on the academic calendars that are published online, the drop dates are quickly approaching for courses, and these are the drop dates for each public institution where a student wouldn't receive a withdrawal on their transcript. So just check in on those, and if you have students who are currently participating, keep those in mind. Ensure that your district policy is completed. So as Steve mentioned, a lot of districts have this on their business for this fall. And once that's done, please email them to Sharon Lee, and any support that we can give you in developing those or questions, please let us know. And also, if you could send the contact information for the local designated staff person, that would be excellent. And Sharon Lee's email is on the screen for you to send that information. Make sure that you're set up to report dual and concurrent enrollment. So just like TCS is done at a regular interval, I believe it's daily, you'll be able to upload dual and concurrent enrollment information for your students daily. So this data reporting cannot wait until the end of the semester. It should be actually being done already if you have students participating this semester. But definitely keep this in the front of your mind as something, once October enrollments are set, we'll be following up to make sure that this data is also getting reported. And it's never obviously too early to begin thinking about next year. And also don't forget about next semester. So if scheduling challenges kept a student from participating in dual enrollment this year, maybe there's another time for the similar course next year that's available. And also, or next semester rather, and next year for concurrent enrollment, think about what instructors at your high school might be eligible to be approved to teach concurrent enrollment. And so on our side of things, we're going to start working with higher ed this fall on the list of potential concurrent enrollment courses for the 2017 school year. And so that will be published, we're hoping, targeting for January, and that lists all of the courses available for concurrent enrollment as well as the instructor, I guess, requirements, so what type of master's degree that instructor would have to be approved to teach that course. And don't hesitate to contact us with any requests or any questions that you might have. And so the resources that are available on the dual enrollment webpage are a 2-page flyer that is directed at staff, sample letters in English and Spanish for students, the concurrent enrollment course catalog, the contact information for each institution, FAQs, the student flyer in both English and Spanish, and information sheets provided by URI, RIC, and CCRI that give a little more detail on the process for signing up for dual and concurrent enrollment. And if you're interested, the webinar from this spring is there that gives a little more detail on the statute and regulations. So just so everyone can see where the web page is. At the bottom are the course catalog and the tabs for each of our public institutions, and then specific information depending on who you are. So if you click in school and districts, you'll see all of the resources are available for download here. Okay, and any questions in the future, definitely email Steve, or you can call his direct line, and his contact information is on the slide. So we're going to pause here and take a look at the questions that have come in and begin going down the list.